The station crew has been wrapping up a hardware validation test this week called Veggie, harvesting the lettuce plants from a compact greenhouse that was flown to the station to demonstrate its potential use as a way to supply fresh food to astronauts on long-duration space flights. Today we have a chance to get an early report on how that has been going, and we have joining us from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, Dr. Gioia Massa, the science team lead for the Veggie hardware validation test. Thanks so much for joining us, Gioia.
Thanks for inviting me, Brandi.
Well, why don't we start off by letting you kind of remind us exactly what this experiment is about, what the goal of the demonstration is.
Sure. Well, Veggie is a new plant growth chamber that we just sent up on SpaceX 3. So for the first test, we wanted to just validate that the chamber would successfully grow plants and that all the systems worked well. And so to do that, we selected outrageous red romaine lettuce as our first test crop.
Okay, well that sounds exciting. How's this different from other plants grown in space and different facilities used for that?
Well, Veggie is one of the largest plant growth chambers ever in space, the largest that NASA has so far. And it's designed to be really open for the crew to see and to interact with easily. So instead of being in a closed box with a door, the chamber has transparent, collapsible and expandable bellows, and so the crew can just, float by and see the plants growing in there. It also has LED lights, and we used red, blue, and green LED lights in the Veggie. The red and blue lights are really for plant growth, and the green LED lights are for the humans to make the plants look a little more like plants. So if you've seen shots of the Columbus module lately, you'll see this kind of purplish glow in there, and that's the Veggie chamber on. And it seems like the astronauts and cosmonauts have kind of enjoyed taking pictures of the purple light.
I bet. I think we actually have some video of Steve Swanson working to harvest some of that lettuce that we can take a look at. Do you have any idea how that's gone so far?
Well, we have a little bit of an idea. So we had 6 what we call plant pillows in there. And you can see Steve here harvesting one of the plants and holding it up. The plants that grew really well. We had one plant pillow that did not germinate, so we're going to bring that one back and try and figure out what went wrong. And here you see a great shot of the lettuce. It just looked beautiful. When he harvests it, we have him wrap it in foil, and we're not allowing the crew to eat the plants at this time because we really need to bring them back and make sure that they're safe to eat and that nothing odd happened. We had a little bit of an issue early on with some of the water getting to the plants. We weren't getting quite enough water to some of the plants, so a couple of the plants didn't make it. But the 3 plants that grew excessively well, and they kind of filled up the rest of the space, as you could see.
Yeah, they look just like what I would expect lettuce to look like. Well, so once you do get them back down on the ground, what will you be looking for?
Well, we have a couple of different samples that were taken. The crew actually swabbed the leaves and the surfaces of Veggie to look for microbial growth on the leaves and on the surfaces. And we're also getting those frozen plants back, so we'll do microbial sampling of those plants. We're also going to sample the plant tissue and look at antioxidant content and mineral content within the plants. We want to know, how nutritious these plants would be for the crew when they are allowed to eat them. And the microbial side of things is really aimed towards the food safety. We think they're probably perfectly safe, but we need to confirm that and make sure that there aren't any bacteria that are up on space station that might have just fallen in love with growing all over the plants, because it's not so easy to wash your vegetables in space.
So would this be considered alien lettuce since it was grown in space?
Well, it's definitely extraterrestrial lettuce.
Well, I think you also were growing some of your own here on Earth, right? What will you do with that?
So that was our ground control, and those plants are also sampled in exactly the same way that we sampled the ones on orbit. They did microbial swab sampling of the plants, and they also cut the plants and froze them. Here you can see some of the swab sampling of the leaf surfaces. So this is a way to look and to just see, what kind of microbial growth is on them. So we'll be able to compare the plants from the ground and the plants that were grown on space station and see, do we see any big differences between those in terms of populations of organisms, types of organisms that might be on the leaves, and also the antioxidant and mineral levels within those plants.
Okay, well, it looks like everything went really well. Would you say it all was as expected?
Well, yeah, I mean, the hardware performed really well for the most part. Our light system worked great. The plant pillows, these little grow bags, worked really well to distribute water to the growing roots and provide fertilizer for the plants and a way for the roots to attach. Once we get a couple of the pillows back, we'll be able to see that root growth a little bit better. We did have a couple of issues keeping the correct amount of water to the plants, and so that's something that we're going to learn from and work on to fix in the future so that the plants get enough water all throughout their life cycle, because that water need changes as the plants grow.
Okay, well, what's the next step for this experiment? Is it done here, or do you keep going?
Well, we sent additional pillows up to space station on SpaceX 3 that contain lettuce seeds and also zinnia seeds. Zinnia is a small flower, and we thought that the crew could grow those and enjoy just having some flowers around without being tempted to eat them. And then the lettuce would be additional data for our food safety analysis, or if we get enough data and we get those back, maybe the crew could actually grow those and eat those at a later point. But we have to get the plant samples back first, and we won't get those back until SpaceX 4 returns. So both those lettuce seed pillows and the zinnia seed pillows are going to be hopefully added to the voluntary science list, and then the crew can choose whether or not they want to grow those plants. And we think this is just the first of many things that'll be going on in the Veggie chamber in the future.
Okay, well, we will look forward to that and hope to see some flowers growing in space pretty soon. Thanks so much for joining us. Again,
we hope so too.
Thanks. Again, this was Gioia Massa, who is the science team lead for the Veggie hardware validation test. Thanks again for talking with us, Gioia.
It was my pleasure, Brandi. Thank you.